The Earth is not flat, yet many people still think that it is. Why? Well, it's not just extreme conspiracies that trick you. Everyday false information is manipulating you. Your health choices, money choices, even your relationship choices. And just being smart isn't enough to protect you anymore. So how can we defend ourselves against a world full of lies? To answer that, we first need to go back in time. In 2003, Elizabeth Holmes started Theranos, a company promising to revolutionize the medical industry with their unique blood test. She positioned Theranos as threatening the traditional medical testing industry. She claimed this industry was slow and resistant to change, which is where Theranos came to the rescue. Or so she said. The company gained huge investments and public support and was eventually valued at $9 billion, until it was discovered that she had lied about the product, and she was then sentenced to over 11 years in prison. But how could she fool so many people, even intelligent investors who presumably researched the company? Well, humans tend to develop a distrust in authorities. Whilst teenagers are often known for rebelling against norms, adults have seen the world, experienced corruption, seen inequality, dishonesty, incompetence, and often been betrayed.
Wait until you see it. See what? What a man can do to another man.
So when someone comes along painting a big institution as the bad guy, our brains often agree with this without evidence because it aligns with that very subtle belief. This is called the anti-establishment bias and is one of the psychological weaknesses that Elizabeth Holmes exploited. But this is just one of the ways misinformation can fool us. Psychological tricks hijack what we believe. But the scary part is that the way they do this is actually addictive to our brains. This means that popular educators can often have the most false information of all. But how is this possible? Let's say we go to a doctor with a stomachache. What do? They'll usually run some tests, talk about other symptoms, how long you've had it, your health habits, etc. However, until they have clear evidence, they won't diagnose you with anything because they don't know for sure. I mean, imagine if they did. Imagine if you went into the doctors with a stomachache and they just said, "You're probably low on zinc," and sold you a zinc supplement. What if your stomachache had been caused by zinc supplements? What if prescribing this interfered with another medication you're taking or a condition that you have? They could seriously harm you, and they could even kill you, and would lose their doctor's license immediately. However, this is exactly what many online experts don't do. Take Lucy. She claims that homeopathic remedies can cure serious diseases like cancer. She gives non-scientific evidence, but shares many success stories that she's heard from the internet, and so states that these remedies can cure cancer with confidence. And if you didn't know any better, her success stories would give you hope. However, the doctor often comes across uncertain and gives a lot of realistic expectations, which isn't as attractive or comforting.
Based on your health, based on your condition, based on all the evidence we have, we estimate you have 30 days left to put your affairs in order.
This tendency for us to assume someone is knowledgeable just because they speak about it confidently is called the confidence bias. But this is where things can get dangerous. Let's say you're a complete beginner at something like investing. You're at stage 1. You know that you don't know much about it at all. However, as you do more of it, you learn so much more, and it starts to feel like you know quite a lot. This is stage 2, and where people tend to think that they are experts and smarter than they really are. But as you progress further into the subject, you begin realizing the complexity and the unpredictability of the stock market. You realize how many things influence the prices, from global events to news to company information, etc., and a million other things that are completely out of your control. You begin to become more aware of what you don't know. This is stage 3, and this is where you become a true expert. So, a true expert can often sound uncertain because they are so aware of all the complex nuances of the topic. A professional investor knows how risky and unpredictable things are, and so their advice is always really conservative and risk-averse. But this is where it becomes really harmful. Because what's more attractive for a beginner looking to learn about investing? Is it A, I'll 10x your money in the stock market this year? Or is it B, I'll make 10% on your money in the stock market this year? Obviously, A. However, who are the only people sharing the advice for 10xing your money in a year? People who are in stage 2. In other words, not experts. So we have armies of people who think they know more than they do, sharing their incomplete or incorrect ideas with extreme confidence in a way that tricks our minds into thinking that they are correct. Not ideal. But is this really that harmful? And surely this wouldn't affect smart people as much. Well, Steve Jobs, former CEO of Apple, was diagnosed with cancer, but he refused treatment because he was convinced he could cure himself with alternative remedies. His cancer then grew too much, and surgery was no longer an option, leading to his death. In 1998, a paper was published suggesting a connection between the MMR vaccine and autism. This was quickly proven to be false, but the information had spread amongst the public and created huge fear. This led to a large decline in vaccinations and a huge increase in disease outbreaks and deaths, all because people were manipulated by the wrong information. You may think this wouldn't happen to you. However, there's one thing that makes even the smartest people believe misinformation. And in order to know how it works, we first need to understand storytelling. In every story, we have 3 main elements. We have a character, we have the goal, and we have the conflict. In other words, all characters want something, but there are obstacles on their way to achieving it. Now, in order for us to care about the character, we need to relate to them. And some commonly used traits are the victim, being likable, traumatized, funny, or powerful. We connect with these because we all have elements of these feelings in our lives. Then we have the end result they want. Normally to win something, to obtain something, to escape from something, or to stop something. The character moves towards what they want, but faces a series of challenges along the way. And this creates emotion as we relate to them going through the pains. But there's also a second, hidden journey the characters go through that can persuade even the smartest people of almost anything. Let's say the character is James Bond. James Bond wants to save the world from a nuclear attack, but faces huge problems along the way. After stopping the attack, though, the struggles that he went through changed who he was as a person. Maybe he learned to be more open, or that he needed to trust his friends more. This is the second journey characters go through. It's the indirect transformation of them as a person after going through the struggles. And this is something we all go through in our lives. We want things, we face challenges, and those challenges reshape who we are. But did you spot how this can be used to manipulate you? By engineering stories, we see ourselves in the main character. And if all characters change their beliefs by the end, then those new beliefs are likely to plant themselves inside your head. So what if someone used this power to make you believe something that would benefit them? For example, for decades, fossil fuel companies such as ExxonMobil funded misinformation campaigns to create doubt on the science surrounding climate change. This doubt ultimately made them more money. At an extreme, Adolf Hitler brainwashed an entire generation into violent ideologies, resulting in several million deaths. He did this with emotional propaganda, which painted certain groups as evil or inferior. And so whether it's buying a new product, liking a new trend, choosing a career, making health decisions, voting, everything starts with belief. And stories hijack our emotions. And this is what can trick even the smartest people: emotions. But knowing this isn't enough to stop being deceived, because misinformation can even disguise itself as facts, which manipulate the logical part of our brain. And here are a few of the main ways that it does this. Method 1. If I told you spider bites in your city rose by 1,000% last week, how would you feel? Pretty uncomfortable, right? However, what if I told you that the number of spider bites rose from 1 to 10 in the last week? Not so scary, considering that there are probably multiple hundreds of thousands or even millions of people in your city. This is the first way people will disguise lies or bend the truth, by using relative numbers that make things seem more dramatic than they actually are. Method 2. If the news focuses only on young people dying from a new disease, sharing only statistics and deep emotional stories of how many children are dying, but fail to mention only 0.01% of children who get it actually die, this massively misleads you without lying directly. This is one example of how people cherry pick information to get your attention. Now, there are many more ways, but in short, whenever you see dramatic, sensationalized, overconfident statements, red flags should be waving in your brain. Then we just need to ask the right types of questions. Are these facts showing the whole story? If it's true, who says so? How credible are they? Even if you trust the person, it doesn't mean you should trust everything they say, because all humans fall for lies, as we now know. What's the language used? Remember, balanced arguments use neutral language and show both sides of the argument. They don't try to convince you that they are right. And have you looked at multiple perspectives on it, not just ones that support your initial idea? Doing even a fraction of this will put you ahead of 99% of people, because the quality of the information you absorb leads to the quality of the decisions you make, and better decisions equal better outcomes. If you found this topic interesting, you'll probably love this too. Thank you for watching.